If you were to take a look at any worst characters on Angel list, chances are you will see Connor somewhere in the top 10. Introduced in Season 3, Connor's character is often seen as whiny, selfish, annoying, and all-around insufferable by a major portion of the fanbase. But is this extreme hatred towards this confused and messed up teen really warranted? Does he really deserve the bad rap that's followed him through all these years? Well, in a way, kind of.
Shut up!
Connor was a very static character, spending the majority of Season 4 involved in a despised love triangle between his father and an inappropriately aged Cordelia, and often displaying the same bad behaviour over and over with little growth or change. Even his actor, Vincent Kartheiser, spoke about the stagnancy of the character, pointing out how he had to replay the same emotions every episode with little room to grow as an actor. Connor was often used to create conflict within the plot, which in no way endeared him to audiences and allowed him to become the main scapegoat for the fandom to air their grievances over, especially with regards to the polarizing Season 4. However, despite all of this, Connor has possibly the most tragic and traumatizing arc of any character on Angel, and we often get glimpses into the deeper issues at play within his character, the depth of the trauma he has experienced, and how it affects his actions over the course of the show. Examining his journey over the seasons displays not so much his actual growth and characterization, but rather the potential that lies beneath. And so, with that in mind, let's have a look at Connor throughout his run on the show and explore how he is actually the most tragic character in the series, both due to his actual arc and the potential missed within it. Connor is first introduced as a baby, but given the time restraints involved when filming with an infant, and the fact that a vampire crusader with a baby isn't particularly practical, Connor was aged up, with the storyline of his kidnapping being the loophole through which this was achieved. And thus, we get the first building block in Connor's characterization with the trauma of his upbringing in Quartot. After being kidnapped as an infant, Connor is raised in one of the most horrifying hell dimensions by a man whose main goal is vengeance. As Connor is part of Holt's revenge against Angel, Holt raises him to be a warrior, training him with extreme and dangerous methods, which would have taught Connor resilience, but also meant that Connor's entire childhood was most likely saturated with fear and trauma, which probably resulted in Connor having severe PTSD.
Holt's made up a game so I could practice.
Oh, you mean he'd hide things for you to find?
Kinda. Tie me to a tree and then run away.
What?
You know. So I'd have to escape and then find him. One time it only took me 5 days.
5 days. He abandoned you and... Connor, that's terrible.
More significantly, Connor is raised to hate Angel for being a vampire, meaning that Connor is taught from young to hate a part of himself, which is shown to be a damaging experience and something Connor carries with him his entire life. The show neglects to expand on this deep self-loathing despite the myriad of opportunities it offers for growth and characterization, especially since Connor's father struggles with these same issues of self-loathing and shame, and this easily could have been used to build a bond between the two. Instead, we are given only a few glimpses into Connor's self-hatred, and in those glimpses, we see the missed potential. First, when Connor forces Angel to reveal his vampire face, and we see how the face which brought him peace as an infant now brings him disgust and fear as a young adult, and then again later when Connor confronts a newly resurrected Angelus. The show neglecting to explore the effects of this self-hatred minimizes Connor's pain and denies the audience explanations for Connor's attitude towards his father and the way he often lashes out at Angel in anger.
Angel's just something that you're forced to wear. You're my real father.
Connor's initial appearance as a teenager towards the end of Season 3 is actually quite well handled and provides insight into the character, which is sadly forgotten in the following season. He first appears at the end of The Price, having punched through dimensions in order to meet his biological father, showing how, even though he has conflicted and angry feelings towards Angel, Connor still holds a desire that many adopted children do, that of meeting their biological parents. While Connor wants to see and know Angel and learn where he, Connor, came from, he is ill-prepared for the reality of Angel's world. The first friend Connor makes is a heroin addict whom Connor saves from a drug dealer. He quickly forms a connection with her, as she is the first person to show him kindness and understanding, and we see Connor experience his first crush and feelings of physical attraction. Unfortunately, in a sadly predictable turn of events, Connor's friend dies from an overdose, causing Connor pain and confusion as he does not understand the poison that killed his friend or the motivations behind it. All he sees is that someone good and kind has died from forces that he is a stranger to, and he does not know how to handle the kind of demons that he cannot physically fight.
We'll take care of this, okay? Together.
Too late. Too late.
As he struggles to find a place in this new and confusing world, Connor starts to form a tentative bond with Angel, a bond which Holt surprisingly encourages and even expresses a desire for. It soon becomes apparent that this is actually part of Holt's master plan, the final stage in his revenge against Angel. Not knowing that he is being used as a pawn in Holt's game, Connor abides by Holt's wishes and starts to spend more time with Angel. This connection is just starting to deepen when Holtz kills himself and frames Angel for the murder. With no regard to Connor's life, feelings, or emotions, Holtz coldly and cruelly makes his final move, leaving his son devastated and alone, and capping it all off by sending Justine to manipulate and prey on Connor's vulnerability in order to make sure Connor exacts revenge on Holtz's behalf. This is an incredibly low and calculated move by Holtz, and it ends up being so damaging to Connor that it really makes one wonder if Holtz ever had any affection for Connor at all. By manipulating the situation so that Connor is essentially forced to believe everything Holtz told him about his biological father, Holtz strips Connor of both of his fathers, leaving him alone in an unfamiliar world with no one to turn to and no one to trust. The tail end of the season destroys Connor's trust in people, and he becomes a much more hardened and cynical character in the following season. Season 4 is where Connor's character truly starts to suffer, both within the narrative and with regards to all the lost potential of his characterization. The season opens with him living with Fred and Gunn in a dynamic which seems close and natural, but which is sadly forgotten after the opening episode. The few glimpses we do receive into this dynamic show that Connor seems to have achieved some semblance of peace and that he does genuinely like Fred and Gunn and seems to enjoy the small family dynamic they have built. This is shattered when Angel returns after his ocean imprisonment and reveals how Holtz killed himself, thus forcing Connor to realize how misguided and wrong he was about Holtz and bringing him to the realization that Holtz never truly cared for him.
Holtz killed himself. Actually, he had your buddy Justine do it, with an ice pick, just to make you hate me.
Connor is suddenly forced to realize that his whole upbringing was a lie, and in the next minute, Angel throws him out of the house, leaving him alone, scared, and confused. While Connor's sinking Angel to the bottom of the ocean was truly malicious and unjust, Angel turning his son away is not only damaging to Connor and their relationship, but it also makes no sense for Angel's character. We have seen, time and again, that Angel doesn't turn away people in need, even despite the atrocities they commit. If he could take in Faith after she tortured Wesley, or offer Lindsay a shot at redemption despite all his evil, then why couldn't he offer the same support to his own flesh and blood? We have seen how much Angel loves his son and the lengths he has gone to protect him, and yet, in the moment when Connor needs it the most, Angel denies him any support and turns him away, essentially sending Connor the message that Angel doesn't care about him. Once again, Connor loses both his fathers, the memory of Holtz and the safety and security of Angel. Once exiled from the Hyperion, Connor struggles alone living amongst the homeless in LA. But something keeps drawing him back to the Hyperion, where he eventually encounters a newly amnesiac Cordelia, one of the few people he remembers showing him genuine kindness and empathy. And thus begins the most distasteful storyline in the entire series, as Connor is slowly groomed, manipulated, and eventually raped by possessed Cordelia, in a series of events which leave him unable to distinguish between right and wrong, not knowing who to turn to or trust. Not only does he have to deal with possessed Cordelia's emotional and sexual manipulations, but he also has to deal with the constant mistrust and fear from the rest of Angel investigations as the events of the season unfold. This deep distrust and suspicion causes Connor to wonder if he is evil or some sort of freak, and we see him struggling with whether he will ever find anyone who will understand and accept him. Through circumstances beyond his control, he is eventually forced to face Angelus and hear all the poisonous and damaging things Angelus has to say.
Darla felt the same way. Made her sick. You squirming inside her. So, she jammed a stake in her own heart, just so she wouldn't have to hear your first whiny breath.
You don't know anything.
All of this results in Connor feeling persecuted and unworthy. At the young age of only 17, he is forced to deal with contempt, distrust, and sometimes outright hatred from all the adults in his life, including his own father. It creates a genuinely tragic layer to Connor, a dark psychological angst which could have provided depth and nuance to the character. Unfortunately, this rich opportunity for characterization and growth is ignored in favor of a contemptuous and sulky teen who spends most of his time scowling at people without any further depth to his character. It takes many rewatches to see the layers of tragedy to Connor and the way he is such a victim of his circumstances, which explains why so many fans have the knee-jerk reaction of outright hating him, as the trauma he undergoes and the psychological effects he suffers are passed over for the soap opera melodrama of the season. As the story progresses and Connor is blamed and mistrusted by Angel investigations, we see possessed Cordy continue to groom him, using their unborn child as further manipulation and whispering in his ear about how the others don't trust him. Given the way he has been treated all season and the lack of support he receives from everyone around him, it is easy to see how Connor's mind becomes so distorted and twisted that he is able to cross a very big line by kidnapping an innocent girl in order to bring his impossessed Cordy's child into the world. Darla appearing to him as he contemplates the moral implications of what he and possessed Cordelia are doing only further confuses him, especially since this is the first time he has ever seen his mother. In the intense and heartbreaking scene, we see Darla trying to get through to Connor and reach the scared and confused kid that still lies beneath the hardened and cynical young adult. However, as possessed Cordy swoops in and twists Connor's mind into believing that Darla is lying, we see something break inside him. He has been so manipulated, so beaten down, and so defeated that he finally cracks and ends up participating in the murder of an innocent girl. Connor, and by extension the rest of the gang, are given a small reprieve from their angst when Jasmine arrives, bringing fake peace, fake love, and filling LA with fake joy. While Connor knows that Jasmine is, as he puts it, a lie, his world is finally happy. People finally accept him, and he and Angel finally form some kind of a relationship. At his core, love and acceptance is all Connor has ever wanted, and yet he has never received it in full from anyone. So when Jasmine brings him the illusion of these things, he is more than happy to accept it.
I know she's a lie. Jasmine. My whole life's been built on them. I guess I thought this one was better than the others.
This is why killing Jasmine has such a huge effect on Connor. In killing Jasmine, Connor is killing what he believes is his last chance at happiness. Killing her forces him to face the world in much the same way Angel had to in Season 2, seeing how bleak and desolate a place it can be. And this is the final nail in the coffin. This is what finally and completely breaks him. He is so confused, so torn up, and so devastated, and he doesn't know how to fix it. And so, he resorts to the only solution he has ever known, which is violence and fear, taking a store full of people hostage in his most desperate hour. As he confronts Angel in the store, we see the full weight of Connor's trauma, the pain and fear he has carried for so long, and we finally get to see him express his emotions. In a heartbreaking confession, he reveals his deep-rooted issues of abandonment and the loneliness and isolation he has experienced because of it.
You tried to love me. At least I think you did.
I still do.
But not enough to hang on, Dad. You let him take me. You let him get me. You let him get me.
In the season 4 finale, we finally get to see the layers to Connor, the mental torment he lives in and how deep his issues run. And he is finally presented as a sympathetic character whom the audience can connect with and who Angel sees is beyond help, which leads Angel to make the biggest sacrifice he has ever made in order to give his son the family and love he needs and deserves. In exchange for Angel taking over Wolfram and Hart, Connor is given a new family and all his memories of Angel, Holt, Quartoff, and every other horrible trauma he went through are erased. And through this, we finally get to see what Connor would have been like had he not gone through everything he did. We see him as a well-adjusted, happy kid who seems to have a good head on his shoulders and a good sense of right and wrong. He is so well-adjusted that when he is hit with 18 years worth of extremely harsh and traumatic memories in Season 5, he is able to deal with said memories and does not allow them to overtake him. In Season 5, we see the true potential of Connor's character and all he could have been, had circumstances been different for him. Sadly though, the opportunity to explore this was cut short when the show was abruptly cancelled, but I do wonder if the series might have finally given him some decent characterization had it been renewed for Season 6. So what's the final conclusion? Does Connor truly deserve the hatred he receives? Whatever your thoughts are, I don't think anyone can deny that Connor is a truly tragic character, both within the narrative and due to the wasted potential in his characterization. Given how much he is a victim of his circumstances, it is easy to sympathize with him, but he definitely could have been a much better written character, as there was so much more to explore with his background and trauma, and so much potential for growth which was ignored or passed over in favor of conflict and drama. And perhaps that is the true tragedy of Connor's character, that his full potential was never realized, and, as such, he will forever be remembered as one of the more despised characters in the Whedonverse.